Ladies and gentlemen, we all face moments in life when things seem to fall apart. Times when challenges seem to tower over us like mountains and we can't see the way out. It's in those moments we must remember this one truth: trust God. He is there for you in every situation. When you're in the valley, He's there. When you're climbing the mountain, He's there. When life is smooth and when life is rough, He is there. And in every step of your journey, through every storm, every battle, and every triumph, God walks with you. We may not always understand His plan. We may not always see His hand. But let me tell you something today: you can trust His heart. He knows what you need before you even ask. He's already worked out a solution for a problem you haven't even encountered yet. So I encourage you to release your worry, your fear, and your doubt. Trust Him. Lean not on your own understanding, but trust in His unfailing love, because no matter what comes your way, He is there for you. You see, in this life, things are going to get tough. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There will be days when everything feels out of control, when nothing goes as planned, and you're left standing in the middle of the storm, wondering how you're going to make it through. But that's exactly when your faith needs to be unshakable. When the ground beneath you trembles, when the waves crash against you, faith is what holds you steady. You've got to be rooted. Because let me tell you something: life will test you. People will disappoint you. Situations will challenge you. But your faith, that's what will carry you through. When the noise around you gets loud, when the doubts start creeping in, that's when you have to dig deep. Plant your feet, stand tall, and trust that God has got you, even when you can't see it, even when you don't understand it. You see, faith isn't just for the good days. Faith isn't just something you call on when life is easy and everything is going your way. No. Faith is for the hard days. Faith is for the moments when you're down on your knees and you don't know what's next. It's for the times when all you've got left is a prayer, when you've exhausted every other option, and you realize that the only way through is to trust that God has a bigger plan. You can't control the storm, but you can control where you stand in it. And if your faith is strong, if your heart is grounded in something higher than the chaos of this world, no storm can take you down. You might bend, but you won't break. You might stumble, but you'll rise again, because the foundation of faith is stronger than anything life throws your way. It's not always easy to keep the faith, but nothing worthwhile ever is. There will be times when you'll feel like giving up, when you're tempted to take the easy way out. But you have to remember what's holding you up. It's not your circumstances. It's not your success. It's your faith. And when you stay grounded in that, nothing can knock you down for good. You have to believe in something bigger than the problem in front of you. Faith gives you the strength to stand tall when the world wants to pull you under. It reminds you that no matter how bad it gets, there's a purpose, there's a plan, and you're never alone. That's the power of staying grounded in faith. It's knowing that when life tests you, you're not just standing on your own 2 feet, you're standing on a promise. And that promise is stronger than any fear, any doubt, any obstacle. So no matter what comes your way, stand firm. Don't waver. Because faith, real faith, it doesn't just survive the storm, it thrives in it. Let me tell you something about struggle. It's inevitable. No one is immune to it. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or how much you've accomplished. Struggle is going to find its way into your life. But here's the key: don't run from it. Don't try to avoid it. Embrace it. Because that struggle, as hard as it may be, is shaping you into the person you're meant to become. See, the problem with most people is they think struggle is a sign that something's gone wrong, that it means they failed or that life is unfair. But let me tell you something real. It's in the struggle that you find your strength. It's in the tough times that you discover who you truly are, what you're made of, and what you're capable of achieving. The thing about struggle is that it refines you. It pushes you beyond your limits, makes you uncomfortable, and forces you to grow. You see, nothing worth having ever comes easy. The best things in life, they're earned through sweat, through sacrifice, through perseverance. Struggle is the process that burns away the weaknesses, the doubts, the fears, and leaves behind something stronger, something better. So when life puts you in that fire, don't try to escape. Stand there. Feel it. Let it make you stronger. When you're in the middle of it, it's easy to feel like it's too much, like you can't handle it. But what you have to understand is that struggle is not meant to break you, it's meant to build you. Every challenge, every obstacle, every hardship, it's all part of your story. And if you can embrace the struggle instead of fighting against it, you'll come out the other side a better version of yourself. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And the greatest power you have is to look at the struggle and say, this won't defeat me. This will define me. When you embrace the struggle, you take control of the narrative. You decide that this hardship isn't going to be the thing that stops you, it's going to be the thing that propels you forward. Now, don't get it twisted. Embracing the struggle doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain, frustration, or doubt. But it does mean you're going to keep pushing. You're going to keep grinding, keep fighting, because you understand that every ounce of struggle is getting you closer to your purpose. It's not something to avoid, it's something to learn from. Think about it. Every person you admire, every success story you've heard, every dream that's been realized has all come through struggle. That's how greatness is forged. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in adversity. So when the struggle comes, and trust me, it will, don't shrink back. Don't run away, stand tall, face it head on, and embrace it. Because the more you embrace it, the more it shapes you into who you were always meant to be. You see, struggle isn't the enemy, it's the training ground. It's where you learn to rise, where you learn to push through, where you find out that you are stronger than you ever knew. And when you've embraced the struggle, when you've walked through the fire and come out the other side, you'll realize that the struggle didn't stop you, it made you unstoppable. Timing, let me tell you, that's something we all struggle with. We want things to happen now. We live in a world of instant gratification where everything's at our fingertips, and if something doesn't come fast enough, we get frustrated, we start doubting, we wonder why things aren't going the way we plan. But here's the truth you need to understand: God's timing is perfect. And just because it's not happening when you want it to doesn't mean it's not going to happen. You see, we think we know what's best. We think we've got it all figured out. We set our own deadlines, we make our own plans, and then when things don't unfold the way we expect, we start questioning everything. But what we fail to realize is that God's timing is not just better than ours is flawless. He sees what you can't see. He knows what you don't know. And sometimes the delay you're frustrated by is actually a blessing in disguise. Think about it. How many times have you wanted something so badly, only to realize later that if you'd gotten it when you asked for it, you wouldn't have been ready? You see, God isn't just concerned with giving you what you want. He's concerned with preparing you for what you need. And that preparation takes time. It takes patience. It takes trust. When you're waiting, it's easy to feel like nothing's happening, like you're stuck. But let me tell you something, while you're waiting, God is working. He's aligning things in your favor. He's moving pieces around behind the scenes, orchestrating things you don't even know about yet. You may not see it, but He's already putting the right people in place, opening the right doors and closing the wrong ones. The problem is we get so caught up in our own timeline that we miss the beauty of His. We're in such a hurry to reach the destination that we forget that the journey is part of the plan. The waiting season isn't wasted time. It's the time when God is molding you, preparing you, refining you. He's building your character, stretching your faith, and getting you ready for the next level. It's easy to trust God when things are going according to your schedule. But real faith is trusting Him when things seem delayed, when you're not getting the answers you want, when the doors seem closed. Real faith is understanding that God's not yet is not a no, it's just a wait. It's a trust me. I know what I'm doing. And sometimes what feels like a delay is really God protecting you, keeping you from something you're not ready for, or preparing you for something even better than you imagined. We've got to stop trying to force things to happen in our timing. You can push, you can pull, you can try to manipulate situations to fit your agenda. But at the end of the day, if it's not in God's timing, it's not going to work. And if it does work, it won't last. But when you trust His timing, when you surrender to the fact that He knows exactly what you need, and when you need it, that's when everything falls into place. That's when you realize that what you thought was a delay was actually divine alignment. So what do you do while you wait? You trust. You stay faithful. You keep working. You keep believing. And most importantly, you keep your eyes on God's plan, not your own. Because His timing is always perfect, never early, never late, but exactly when it's supposed to be. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that every delay was on purpose. Every closed door was a step towards the right one. Every moment of waiting was God setting you up for something greater than you could have planned on your own. Trust that process. Trust His timing. And know that when it's time, when you're ready, when the situation is right, it will happen, and it will be better than you ever imagined. Patience and persistence, two words that sound simple, but are some of the hardest things to master in life. We live in a world that's always on the go, where everything has to happen now, where if you don't get results fast, you feel like you're failing. But let me tell you, success doesn't come overnight. The dreams that you're chasing, the goals you've set for yourself, the life you want to build, it's not going to happen in an instant. It's going to take time, and it's going to take work. Here's the thing, most people quit before they even give themselves a real chance. They start something, hit a roadblock, and then throw their hands up and walk away. But you've got to be different. You've got to understand that anything worth having is worth waiting for and worth fighting for. Patience isn't about sitting around doing nothing, waiting for things to magically fall into place. No, patience is about having the strength to keep going, even when you don't see the results yet. It's about knowing that progress is happening, even when it's not visible. I think about a seed that's planted in the ground. For a long time, nothing seems to be happening on the surface, but deep down, roots are growing, foundations are being laid. It takes time for that seed to break through the soil and start to flourish. Your life is no different. You might not see the fruits of your labor right away, but trust me, something is happening. And that's where persistence comes in. You've got to keep going. Day after day, week after week, year after year. Persistence means you don't stop just because it's taking longer than you thought. It means you keep pushing, keep grinding, even when things get hard, even when the path ahead looks uncertain. It's easy to stay motivated when everything's going your way, but real persistence is about showing up even when you feel like nothing's moving. It's about putting in the work when everyone else has given up. Let me tell you something, the process is not always glamorous. You're going to face setbacks. You're going to have days where you question why you're even bothering. There are going to be moments when you feel like you've done everything right, and yet nothing seems to be happening. But that's exactly when you need to dig deep and keep pushing forward. That's when your patience is tested and your persistence is proven. The truth is, success doesn't go to the fastest or the luckiest. It goes to the ones who refuse to quit. It goes to the ones who understand that setbacks aren't the end, they're just a part of the journey. It goes to the ones who keep knocking on doors, even when those doors are closed, because eventually one will open. You see, patience without persistence is just waiting around, and persistence without patience is burning yourself out too soon. But when you have both, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you realize that the journey is just as important as the destination. Every step you take, every struggle you face, every failure you overcome, that's all part of building you into the person who's ready for the success you're after. So when things get tough, when progress feels slow, remember this, don't rush the process. Be patient enough to know that good things take time, and be persistent enough to keep showing up, even when the results aren't instant. Because the truth is, you're not just waiting for success to come to you, you're working for it. You're earning it. And when it finally happens, When you reach that breakthrough, you'll realize that it wasn't just about the goal, it was about the strength, the resilience, the determination you built along the way. That's what patience and persistence do. They shape you into the kind of person who doesn't just get what they want, but who deserves what they've worked for. So keep the faith, keep pushing, keep grinding, be patient, but don't stop moving. Because the time will come. It always does. You just have to be willing to stick around long enough to see it through. Gratitude is a powerful thing, but most of us forget it when life doesn't go our way. It's easy to be thankful when things are smooth, when doors are opening and everything's falling into place. But that's not where true gratitude lives. True gratitude, the kind that shapes your life, is about giving thanks in all things, the good, the bad, and the uncertain. You see, most people think they should only give thanks when they get what they want. But let me tell you, if that's the only time you're grateful, you're missing out on the real blessing. Gratitude is not about waiting for perfect moments. It's about recognizing that every moment, even the difficult ones, holds value. It's about understanding that life's challenges are just as important as its victories. When you're in the middle of a storm, when nothing seems to be going right, that's when gratitude matters most. Because giving thanks in those moments isn't just about being positive, it's about shifting your perspective. It's about choosing to see that even in the struggle, there's something to be learned, something to be gained. Every setback is setting you up for something bigger. Every disappointment is clearing the way for something better. You may not understand it while you're going through it. In fact, it might feel unfair, confusing, or even painful. But trust me, when you learn to give thanks in the midst of it, you're acknowledging that there's a purpose in the process. You're recognizing that even though you don't have all the answers, you trust that God does. And that trust, that's what carries you through. Gratitude is about more than saying thank you for what you've been given. It's about saying thank you for what's coming, even when you can't see it yet. It's about being thankful for the doors that closed, the paths that were blocked, and the opportunities that passed you by, because they were all protecting you, preparing you, and guiding you towards something greater. When you give thanks in all things, you're showing that you have faith in the bigger picture. You're not just grateful for the blessings, you're grateful for the lessons. And those lessons, they're what make you stronger. They're what give you the wisdom, the resilience, and the character to handle the blessings when they finally come. It's easy to be grateful when you're winning. But let me ask you something. Can you be grateful when you're losing? Can you give thanks when the plan falls apart? Can you still find something to appreciate when life throws you curveballs? Because that's where your real strength lies. That's where you develop the kind of faith that isn't shaken by circumstances. When you learn to give thanks in all things, you're no longer a victim of your situation, you're in control of it. You're saying, this may not look like a blessing right now, but I know it's going to become one. You're choosing to find the light, even in the darkest of times. And that choice, it's powerful. It changes everything. Think about it. If you can find gratitude in the struggle, then nothing can break you. You become unshakable because you're no longer dependent on how things turn out. You're no longer waiting for life to go perfectly for you to feel thankful. Instead, you're living with a heart that sees value in everything, even the pain, even the waiting, even the uncertainty. That's the power of giving thanks in all things. It frees you from the need to control every outcome. It opens your eyes to the fact that there's always something to be grateful for, no matter what's happening around you. And when you live with that kind of gratitude, life starts to shift. The challenges don't disappear, but your ability to rise above them grows stronger. So give thanks for the wins, sure, but also give thanks for the losses. Give thanks for the hard times, the struggles, the disappointments, because it's all part of your story. It's all part of your growth. And when you learn to give thanks in all things, you stop waiting for perfect moments and start realizing that every moment is a gift, even the ones wrapped in struggle. Staying humble and staying hungry, these are the two keys that will keep you grounded and growing no matter how much success you achieve or how many setbacks you face. In life, it's easy to get caught up in your own achievements. When things start going your way, when you start seeing results, it's tempting to let pride creep in. But the moment you start thinking you've made it, that's the moment you stop growing. You see, humility isn't just about being modest. It's about recognizing that there's always more to learn, always more to improve, and always more to give. Humility is about knowing that no matter how high you climb, you didn't get there alone. It's about acknowledging the people who helped you along the way, the lessons that shaped you, and the grace that guided you. When you stay humble, you stay open. Open to new ideas, open to feedback, and open to the reality that you don't have all the answers. And that's important because the moment you think you know it all is the moment you stop listening. And when you stop listening, you stop growing. The truth is, success can be a dangerous thing if you let it go to your head. It can blind you to the fact that you're still a work in progress, that there's always room for improvement. But when you stay humble, you remain teachable. You don't let your ego get in the way of your growth. You remember that no matter how much you've accomplished, there's always someone out there who can teach you something new. Humility keeps you grounded, and when you're grounded, you're not easily shaken by the highs or the lows. But humility alone isn't enough. You also have to stay hungry. Hunger is what drives you. It's that fire in your belly that pushes you to keep going, to keep striving, to never settle. It's easy to lose that hunger once you start seeing success. Once you reach a certain level, the temptation is to get comfortable, to relax, to think you've done enough. But the moment you get comfortable is the moment you stop progressing. Staying hungry means you're never satisfied with where you are, no matter how far you've come. It means you're constantly pushing yourself to do better, to be better. Not because you're chasing perfection, but because you know there's always more potential inside of you waiting to be tapped. It's about having that relentless drive to keep growing, keep evolving, and keep reaching for the next level. The combination of humility and hunger is what sets you apart. Humility keeps your feet on the ground, and hunger pushes you to reach for the stars. When you stay humble, you don't let success change you. When you stay hungry, you don't let success stop you. You keep moving forward no matter what. Now, being humble doesn't mean you downplay your abilities or your achievements. It doesn't mean you hide your light. It means you shine, but you recognize that your light isn't the only one. It means you give credit where credit is due. It means you lift others up along the way. And being hungry doesn't mean you're never satisfied or never grateful for where you are. It means you appreciate the journey, but you're always ready for the next challenge. Staying hungry means you never stop chasing growth, no matter how successful you become. It means that every time you hit a milestone, you see it as a stepping stone, not a finish line. You stay curious, you stay driven, and you stay focused on the bigger picture. Here's the thing, life is a balance. Too much hunger without humility, and you lose sight of what's important. You become so focused on the chase that you forget the people around you, the lessons you've learned, and the gratitude you should have for how far you've come. But too much humility without hunger, and you'll never push yourself to the heights you're capable of. You'll settle for less than what you're meant for. The magic happens when you can balance both, when you can look at everything you've achieved and say, I'm proud, but I'm not done, when you can appreciate how far you've come, but still be eager for what's next. When you can stay humble enough to keep learning and hungry enough to keep chasing your potential. That's the mindset that keeps you growing, that keeps you evolving, that keeps you on the path to greatness. So no matter where you are in life, no matter what you've accomplished or what you're still working toward, remember this: stay humble and stay hungry. Because that's how you reach the top. And that's how you stay there. You never stop learning, and you never stop striving. You keep your feet on the ground, but your eyes on the horizon. Always grounded, always growing. That's the key. Prayer is more than just words whispered in the quiet moments when life gets tough. It's not just a ritual or a habit. Prayer is a lifeline. It's a constant connection between you and God, a conversation that never ends. When the Bible says pray without ceasing, it's not talking about being on your knees 24/7. It's about living in a state of continual communion with God, where your spirit is always reaching out to Him, no matter what's happening in your life. You see, prayer is not just something you do when you need something. It's not a button you push when things go wrong. And it's definitely not a last resort when all else fails. Prayer is the foundation of your relationship with God. It's how you stay connected, grounded, and aligned with His will, even when life feels chaotic. It's how you remind yourself that no matter what's going on, you're not in this alone. When you pray without ceasing, you're not just asking for blessings, you're acknowledging that God is present in every moment of your life. You're inviting Him into your daily routine, into the small decisions, into the big dreams, and into the struggles. You're saying, God, I need you not just when things are tough, but every single day, in every single moment. Think about it. How often do we forget to pray when things are going well? When life is smooth, when doors are opening, when everything seems to be falling into place, it's easy to put prayer on the back burner. But praying without ceasing means you're constantly aware of God's presence, even in the good times. It means giving thanks for every blessing, recognizing His hand in every success, and staying humble in every victory. On the flip side, when life hits you hard, when things aren't going as planned, praying without ceasing keeps you anchored. It reminds you that no matter how overwhelming things get, there's a higher power guiding you through it. When you're tempted to worry, when fear starts to creep in, that's when you turn to prayer. And not just once, not just a quick, God, help me out here, but a continual reaching out, a constant surrender of your fears, your doubts, and your control. Prayer without ceasing doesn't mean you have to have all the right words. Sometimes you won't even know what to say. And that's okay. God hears the prayers of your heart, the ones that don't have words, the ones that are just a quiet help me or a whispered, I trust you. Those moments when you're just silent before Him, still in His presence, are just as powerful as any spoken prayer. The beauty of praying without ceasing is that it keeps you in a state of dependence on God. It reminds you that you're not self-sufficient. You can't do it all on your own, and you're not supposed to. When you live in constant prayer, you're acknowledging that you need God's wisdom, His strength, and His guidance. You're recognizing that no matter how much you plan or how hard you work, it's God who ultimately directs your steps. Praying without ceasing also changes the way you see the world around you. It shifts your perspective. When you're in constant communication with God, you start to see things through His eyes. The things that once stressed you out don't seem as overwhelming because you know you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You start to respond to situations with peace instead of panic, with faith instead of fear, because you're constantly reminded that God is in control. And here's the thing, praying without ceasing isn't about always asking for things. It's about building a relationship. Think about the people you love the most in your life. You don't just reach out to them when you need something, right? You talk to them, you share your thoughts, your feelings, your day. That's what prayer is, an ongoing conversation with God. It's about thanking Him for what He's already done, praising Him for who He is, and simply being in His presence. When you pray without ceasing, your life becomes a prayer. Every action, every decision, every thought is influenced by that connection with God. You start to live with a deeper sense of purpose because you're constantly tuned in to His voice, His guidance, and His will for your life. So keep praying. Pray in the quiet moments. Pray in the chaos. Pray when you're filled with joy. Pray when you're overwhelmed with sorrow. Pray when you have the words, and pray when all you have is silence. Because when you pray without ceasing, you're not just talking to God, you're inviting Him to walk with you every step of the way. You're living in the awareness that He's always there, always listening, and always ready to lead you.